Anywhere I go in the world, doesn't matter where I am. I could be in Singapore or Australia. It's amazing. When I open it up for a Q&A, everybody wants to talk about Jimmy Hoffa. What happened to Jimmy Hoffa? Big, big, big subject. And I know you have some experience and some inside information here, Billy. You willing to talk about it?
If you want, yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.
I walk in redemption.
Hey everyone, welcome to another Sit Down with Michael Franzese. Hope everybody is doing well. Everything is very good, very blessed on this end. As always, I give all the praise, honor, glory, and thanksgiving to my God for that. Hope everybody is doing well. My friend and a guy that's the real deal, his name is Billy D'Elia, William Billy D'Elia. Very, very close to Russell Buffalino for, until Russ died, maybe 50 years, maybe longer than that. And he wrote a great book. This is the book, The Life We Chose. And it is a great book because a lot of people write books. I wrote a book, autobiography, several years ago. This is a great book. So many great stories about him and Russell and the people that they were involved with, from Marlon Brando to Frank Sinatra to Jimmy Hoffa. And these are real stories. These are things that really occurred. Billy was the real deal. As a matter of fact, when Russell went away, passed on, Billy became the boss of the family for many, many years. Very well-respected guy, old-timer like myself. But I think you're really going to enjoy reading this book. Want to hear some of the reviews? Nick Pileggi, good friend of mine, he gave this a sterling review, loves it. The Kirkus review, which is very important in this industry, a fresh tale of Mafia royalty. That's what Billy and Russell Buffalino were. An eye-opening look at the ordinary, nasty, and lethal business of organized crime. Publishers Weekly, fascinating. Godfather fans will be rapt. Okay, really terrific. Russell, let me say, The Life We Chose is a rip-roaring tear through the mob's heyday in America, peppered with larger-than-life names like Jimmy Hoffa and Marlon Brando, Michael Jackson and Suge Knight. Russell was involved with all of them, so was Billy. Crazy Joe Gallo, John Gotti, The Life We Chose is spellbinding, true crime writing at its very best. And that's from the New York Times, and that's a pretty good review from the New York Times. So Billy has a lot to say. I think I did a little bit about this on one video. I didn't realize at the time that during the making of The Godfather, that Russ Buffalino was so involved in that. Marlon Brando called him up for advice on how to play the role. And Russell had a tremendous impact on the life. He was very well liked, very well respected throughout the country. And Billy, again, was his right-hand man. Wherever you saw Russell, you saw Billy. And they had a wonderful, fast friendship together. And I had the pleasure of meeting Billy way back when. I used to drive, when I was a recruit, I would drive Andrew Russo, who was my captain at the time, and Tom DeBella, who was acting boss for Junior at the time. I would drive them to meet Russell. And I met Billy during that time. And Russell was always a gentleman. I liked him very much, always treated me well, always respectful to me, even though I was just a recruit at that time. And I heard that about him from everyone that came across him. Remember The Irishman? It's funny, I'm going to ask Billy what he felt about the portrayal by Joe Pesci of Russ Buffalino. I liked it, especially because it was such a departure from what Joe Pesci normally did. And Russell was a pretty calm guy. He could, get a little tough at times. Well, he was a tough guy, no doubt. But he was pretty calm, pretty even-tempered. When you met him, he was low-key in that regard. And I thought Joe Pesci did a good job. We'll see what Billy thinks about that. But anyway, I recommend the book, The Life We Chose. Terrific book. You can go on Amazon. I think we'll have a link here. Probably Barnes & Nobles. You can get it anywhere. But really a pleasure for me to sit down and talk with a real deal, a real old-timer, a guy who really lived the life and was very close to a guy that I had a lot of respect for. And the whole Cosa Nostra had a lot of respect for Russell Buffalino. He's well-loved all over the country. So with no further hesitation, here we go. My good friend, William Billy D'Elia. Billy, I got to ask you because I don't have an opportunity to speak to somebody like yourself that was part of a life that was so different back then than I think it is today. And there's a lot of stuff going on about the life, and I never try to glorify anything, but I do say, look, there was a lot of good times that we had and a lot of good people in that life, and not everybody was a thug or or what they portray in the movies or what some of these guys on YouTube claim to be. There's a lot of guys that were respectful and had integrity, and you're one of them. So, I mean, I love to hear your take on it, the way you felt about the life back then.
Oh, it was great. I loved it. But the sad part, Russell's last year, he was in jail for 10 years. So I spent most of my time in Florida and then visiting him in Leavenworth. But before that, we had a ball. I had a ball because I was young. They were old, but I was still young. So I had a ball like you. I saw a picture of you way, way back. You were going down Rodeo Drive and your wife was Bentley or with your red shirt on.
I was just before they were locking me up again, Billy. Yeah, you know what? Listen, I can't. I had some good times too. I had good friends during that time, and listen, I'll be honest with you. I grew up hating the government. I couldn't help it. I thought they were harassing my father, harassing my family all the time. They were
Everybody.
my enemies. A lot of the stuff that's going on today, we experienced it throughout our whole lives.
Every day.
This is this.
To say we'll take it to the grave.
That's right. There's nothing new that's going on today that we didn't experience. It's different today. It's everything so out in the open. Nobody cares anymore. It's amazing. Are you living in Russell's former house, or is it your son that's living there?
I'm in there right now. It's my son's.
Amazing. How long is that house in the family, so to speak, between you and Russell?
Let's see, 1970, from the 60s, 1955. And then we had the flood in 72, and he did it all over. Now my son he did some of it over.
Well, I don't know if you know this, but your son provided me with some beautiful photos that haven't been posted before. So I'm going to post them throughout this video if you're okay with that.
That's fine.
Yeah, really history there. Amazing. So let me ask you this too, and I'm just getting into some key things that were in your book. Anywhere I go in the world, doesn't matter where I am. I could be in Singapore, Australia. It's amazing. When I open it up for a Q&A, everybody wants to talk about Jimmy Hoffa. What happened to Jimmy Hoffa? Big subject. And I know you have some experience and some inside information here, Billy. You willing to talk about it?
If you want, yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.
The story with Jimmy Hoffa. I met Jimmy Hoffa about 3 times. The first time I walked into the Gold Coast, I was never in Florida, and I ordered eggs purgatory. And the owner of this Gold Coast was Joe Sonkin, who used to be with Kelly Mandarino. He came out of the kitchen like a bulldog. Who was about eggs purgatory? You can't have eggs purgatory. This is a restaurant, all that. So I said, and Russell was there with Jimmy Hoffa, Russell was there with Jimmy Hoffa, and it was the Teamsters convention at the Diplomat Hotel. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Yeah, I remember the
First time I met him. Second time we went to his dinner, Frank Sheeran's dinner, where Jimmy Hoffa gave him a watch and told him how great it was. And Frank made the speech, and when we got done, he said, I didn't stutter, Russell. I told you I wouldn't stutter. So then we left there, and we went to a restaurant in South Philly. I'm positive the name was Catherine's. It was a Rathskeller. We went down. And it was me, Russell, Jimmy, and Frank Sheeran, and Angelo Bruno sitting at the table. And then there was other people. Angelo Buffalino there was other people at the bar. And Russell told him, Jimmy, what are you trying to do? You're out of jail. You got grandchildren. Why don't they want to give you a local union? Why don't you just take it and enjoy your life? He said, Russell, I got to do what I got to do. That's my union. And I built it, which is the truth. I have to do what I have to do. He said, but Jimmy, listen to me. You're a friend of mine, and I'm your friend. I'm just trying to help you. Russell, I love you like a brother. He says, I'll do anything for you, but I got to continue to do what I have to do. So he looked at Frank Sheeran, was driving Jimmy home or to the hotel. He said, Frank, talk to your friend. Explain to him, but he just said he's going to do what he has to do. But the thing about Frank Sheeran killing him, that story in that book that Frank Sheeran wrote where he took Russell and parked him in the field and went, that's far-fetched. That's what had nothing to do with it. But Frank Sheeran at the end wanted to write a book for his kids. For his grandchildren. So that's what he did.
Yeah.
If you knew Russell, there was no way I was closer than that. There was no way I would park him in the field and tell him I'll be back in 6 hours. Yeah, I don't think I'd do that. And that was that story. But then the book came out and everybody went crazy with it and everything. But that's the story of Russell. Now, if you got part of the book where he told me we got to go to New York, we have to go to the Vesuvio. He says, the 2 Tonys will be there. That was Fat Tony Salerno and
Yeah.
Provenzano. and Frank Sheeran. Now, if you're familiar with the Vesuvio, I don't. They
Yeah.
had I used to sit on the corner thing, and he was in the room, in the dining room, and he took Frank. The purpose he took Frank, he says, Frank, don't be smart and don't say anything bad. I want you people to get along. So he took Frank there because everyone was afraid Frank was going to retaliate, and he wanted him to explain to Tony Salerno and Pro that there's no hard feelings, he's not going to retaliate. Well, if he didn't like them to retaliate, if he did it, why would they retaliate? You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think Jimmy's gone, and I don't think we're going to find him.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure that nobody's ever going to find him.
No, all these other nuts, he's buried in the
Let
land.
let me ask you, did he really at odds with Tony Pro like that?
Yeah, that happened in prison first.
So that was true in the movie also. I had heard that before.
Well,
But then
here's
they-
why, because he gave Frank Sheeran his pension when he went to jail, and he wouldn't let Tony Poe get his pension. So they had an argument in jail, and they hated each other since.
Yeah, well, you know what? Sometimes people just got to know when it's enough, just go and retire and
That's
enjoy
what I
the
told
rest
him.
of the day.
You got grandchildren, you got a beautiful place on the lake. Do what you got to do. But I guess he figured he built it, it was his, and he was supposed to get it back. And there was actually two pardons, because Frank Sheeran had the two pardons. The first one said nothing about the union. The second pardon came out like 2 days later saying he can't be a president of the union. So somebody changed something somewhere, but he knew it. But like he says, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, sometimes you get to walk away.
It's like an athlete, when your time is up, you got to know when to leave.
And I liked Frank Sheeran. Frank was, when he was powerful, he had the union in Delaware. Well, we don't know the game. When he went someplace, they betrayed union guys with him. Now, he went to jail for 40 years. He came out as an old man. And I used to go to Philly maybe 3 times a week. I used to pick him up and just take him home so he got he still was important. And he'd sit at the bar and I'd do my business and I'd take him home. But he was an old man to try to make a score.
Yeah, how old was he when he passed, Billy?
Oh, he had to be in his 80s.
Yeah.
When he was a union boss, he was tough. He was no pushover. He was a tough mother.
Yeah. Huh? Well, listen, I can understand him writing a book and he got a movie out of it and everything else. Hey, a lot of people, they benefited off of the whole Hoffa story, I guess. How many times they were digging up his body and there was a book and gosh, so many times.
It's funny, they arrested me, I was in jail, and the Hoffa squad, they called them, came to question me.
Yeah.
At that time, they were digging up a farm. So they said, I don't know about it. Well, you were close with Russell and you were close with Frank Sheeran. I said, what, I can tell you one thing, I says, he's not on the farm because they spent like $7 million digging up the farm. They threw the papers, get him out of here.
Well, there's a guy now, I forget his last name. His name is Michael something. He lives in Detroit. And he's been contacting me for the past year, telling me that he was a witness to them burying Jimmy's body in a building in downtown Detroit. He swears it. He says, I seen it, I witnessed it. He gave this information to the police. He said he's ready to take a lie detector test. He's always wanting me to put him on. And, I won't put him on, but he's been swearing it up and down. He said, I took a lie detector test. I passed the test. I saw them. They chased me away. They almost shot me. He come up with a whole story. So I don't know. I said, listen, I'm not the guy to help you. You got to go and hopefully the police will dig him up if you believe he's there. And that was it. But he's adamant about it.
They had him in the Chinese field. They had him.
Yeah. Chinese field.
Wherever he is, I hope he's rested in peace.
Yeah, well, I'm sure he is by now. God, it's been a long time. But, also Cuba Connection. You had something going on in Cuba, you and Russ.
Well, Russell, I had friends from Pittsburgh, that Kelly Manarino. There was 4 or 5 of them. Well, they were there. Every time Batista wanted to raise the rent, they took care of him. So finally, they said, hey, you know what? This Castro, Batista's getting out of here. Maybe we should help Castro. So they gave him a little money. And guess what happened? The day he came in, he gave him like 48 hours to get out of town with no baggage. So over there's a jackpot of money buried someplace. And that's why they did the Bay of Pigs. I used to kid Russell because remember they were hijacking all the planes and going to Cuba? I said, we're on this plane. What if they hijack and take us to Cuba? We're dead. Where are we going to go if they take us to Cuba? But somewhere there's a jackpot over there for somebody.
Billy, let me ask you, what are the fondest memories you have about the life?
I had so many. I met so many nice people. Life's a good life. It's easy to do good. And I was fortunate enough to know all the old timers that took care of me. And I was fortunate enough to be with Russell because I could go anywhere in the country and there'd be people there waiting to help me. Either Beverly Hills in New York or Canada, wherever I had to go to for Russell, they would treat me like with open arms. And then, it's nice to have a life. You feel a little good being important. You know the deal.
Yeah. How did you first meet Russell?
How did I meet Russell? David Steek was in that one picture they just sent you. His daughter or his son married my sister, and he was with David Steek all the time. That was it. So at that time, I had an appliance distributorship, and they just came out with those 8-track tape players.
Yeah.
So Dave wanted one, so I gave Dave one. I had it installed. Three of the people he worked for wanted them. I gave them. So he said, "Do me a favor." I said, "Michael Body." He said, "You think you could run these cars?" I said, "Yeah, I'll do it." He said, meet him at Leo's Lunch in Pitts and he'll give you the keys. So I took the Cadillac, I had the guy put in. I brought it back. He says, "Bring it back to Leo." So I had the guy wait for me. I went to Mr. Buffalino, you came. He went like this. "What do I owe you, kids?" "Sir, you don't owe me anything. It's my pleasure to do it for you. Be back here tomorrow at 12 o'clock. I said, "Okay." I walked in at 12 o'clock. He says, "You're a pretty big kid. If I gave you something, you think you'll let somebody take it off?" Nice, I don't think so. He gave me my first diamond ring.
Oh.
And then he used to hang out at the shop where Dave worked, and he'd be there every day. So then it'd be, "Let's go to lunch. Pick me up some hoagies and bring them up here. Pick up something for this." They said, "Drive me into New York." I said, "Okay." And I was never in New York, so I said, "Okay." That night we went to the Copa, and we sat at a table. They set it up in front for about 10 people. And he told the girl, "Put a thing of Crown and a thing of Doers," because he drank Doers all his life, nothing else. Like a setup, put 2 setups up. And the girl said, "What would you like?" I says, "I like a screwdriver." He looked at me and says, "What kind of farmer are you?" He used the other one. "You're a farmer from Pennsylvania, drink Doers like a man." And I started drinking Doers, and I've been still drinking it.
Yeah. Ever since then. How old were you then?
18, about 20, 21, something like that.
Yeah.
And so that day I drank Doers, and he drank it till the day he died. And his Russell's birthday was 90th. His 90th birthday, they were taking him to a restaurant. I went with him. There was about 12 of us. So he sat next to me, and his wife sat on this side. So every time I ordered a drink, I ordered 2 Doers and water and slide one over to him, and she'd drink it. She caught me on the third one. "Are you out of your mind giving him Doers?" I says, "Carrie, he drank it all his life. He's 90 years old. It's not going to do anything to him." He loved that.
Yeah.
There's so many funny stories you can tell about him. He didn't want to leave prison. He gave me this instructions. 7 o'clock, you'll be at Springfield. Was it Springfield? Be here at 7 o'clock. It's okay. 7 o'clock, I was there. I chartered the plane, rented a Lincoln, and went to the airport. The guy said, "What are you doing?" I says, "I'm here to pick up an inmate. You better get out here and come back at 9 o'clock or you're going to be an inmate." So that's okay. So I came out, and my wife was with me. I had a kid from Pittsburgh with me. So they wheel him out in a wheelchair. He goes to me, "Tell them I want my walker." I said, "Okay." He wants his walker. Now there's 2 guards with him and a guy in the tower. Okay, that's not his walker. It belongs to the institution. And my friend Mike Marone gave me that from Philadelphia. It's my walker. The guy said, "It's not his walker." He looked at the guy and says, "I'm not leaving this effing place. I got that walker." Now, it was a shock. My wife, she says, because he loved my wife more than he loved me. She's, "Listen, you LFer. If you don't get in the car, I'm going to dump you out of this wheelchair. We get 10 walkers." But that's how story was. And to the day he died, every time we drive now, I never got that walker. I should have had that walker. But so you got wheelchairs, motors. What do you need a walker?
But
he
what?
he was great with my wife, and he was great with my kids.
Yeah. Was it the prison's walker, or was somebody giving the walker? It was.
Yeah.
What did he forget?
No, he wanted that walker. That's all he got in his mind. He would come and sit with my wife for hours, watching Fox News, whatever it was. But she was crazy about it. My kids were crazy about it. They wouldn't eat unless he was there.
Yeah.
He'd come to breakfast, and she'd be waiting for him, and they'd be to 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. And she told me, "Miriam," that's one of my daughters, "if you don't get Easter," he wanted cantaloupe with blueberries. "If you don't get it soon, you're not going to do it this cantaloupe. I'm going to show him right up with that." As soon as he walked in, "Papa, good thing you came." She was going to shove that right. She was crazy. But he was crazy with the kids.
So you were close for how long? Over 40 years?
Yeah. Till the day he died.
Yeah. Huh?
He came when his first daughter was born, Caroline. He came with a rocking horse from FAO Sports. It was made in Russell, all hand painted. So we had to go to a corpse house. He said, I can watch the baby, don't worry. She's only like 2, 3 years old. I can take care of her. So we went. But when we came back, we looked in the window now. There's Carolyn on the couch, and he had a gold watch with a diamond every inch. She swung that around the head, and he's on the rocking horse with her beanie on. So my sister, the government should see that picture. So he was good to everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody. Even the people on the street, he'd give the shoes away, he'd give anything away.
Well, Billy, I always say this, and I'm sure it was the same in your neighborhood. We're always good to the people in our neighborhoods, in our community, always. And, took care of people, and unlike what a lot of people think, and I'm sure Russell was the same way and was very well loved. I mean, honestly, I'm not because I'm talking to you, I always heard great things about him. Really, a lot of people had a lot of respect for him.
Like I told you, every door I went to was open because of him. It wasn't because of me. Now, if I go any place, they were there waiting. Now Russell said, hello. Russell was loved all over. And the day he was supposed to be deported, he told me I was walking with a suitcase. We were in Philadelphia at the immigration building. He says, when you get home, tell your wife to get a passport. You guys are moving here in 2 weeks. I says, okay.
Now, why were they trying to deport him? Where was he born?
He was born here.
Yeah.
But he came, he was born here. Him and his mother and father came here. He was born here, and his father's cousin was a big shot here, so below in the mines. So he gave him a job in the mines. So he said, listen, over in Italy, I'm a big shot. Over here, you have me working in the mines. We're going back. So little Russell, the mother, went back to Italy. He got killed over there, then she brought Russell back here. So he was actually born here. And what happened with that, they went on a trip to Bimini. There was some guy who was building a plant. They said they couldn't do it in 6 months. Russell said, we'll do it in 6 months. So when he did it in 6 months, they gave him a bonus. They took him, Dave, a couple other people to Bimini. Coming back, he didn't have no papers. But when they found him here, the records in the hospital when he was born were flooded. The records over here were burned. I mean, every aspect where he did be proof. There was not that an accident, it burned, water flooded it. So he fought that for years. So now we get there and they take him. Well, first he walks in and he says, they told Buffalino to be here at 8 o'clock. It's 5 to 8. Where's the government? I said, one thing, well, you make it easy for everybody. So they put him in the cell and we sat there. I called senators, I called lawyers. One guy said, when they're bringing him out in shackles, push him down the steps. I said, you're out of your mind. So now we're waiting. About 5 minutes to 4, because they closed at 4 o'clock. They came with the shackles. They said they're going to lose him now. The marshals came to take him out of there. 5 minutes to 4, they got a call from Italy. The Italian consul says, you say he wasn't born there. We say he's not born here. Keep him. And they went take him. They had to let him go.
Wow. They never really had accurate records of where he was born?
No, they did, but somehow they all disappeared.
So that was something he kept fighting then, the deportation.
He fought that right to the end. One week we used to go towards the end, he had to go every week and report the guy in Philadelphia. The guy told him, Russ, you're on trial. Listen to me. If you deport yourself, if you sign, you won't drop everything. You don't have records, you just go to Fort live. He says, I was born in America and I'm staying in America. He could be stubborn at times.
Yeah.
No matter who it was.
Well, listen, he had principle. Why not? This was his country.
Well, when he went to jail, I was with him in Florida, and the phone rang, and the guy says, he knew the jeweler's son. It was the jeweler's son. The 2 people just ripped me off for $25,000. My nephew Larry was there, and this guy Zito, what was it? What was the rest? What was the guy? The one that robbed the jeweler. There in Napoli. Came and they said they were friends of yours, and I gave them $25,000 worth of jewelry. I looked, I said, Russ, don't make sense. I know that kid. I said, Russ, if I went there and told him give me $25,000, he'd check with you first. I'm not getting involved. Well, of course, he did get involved. So I was sitting in the Vesuvio, if you're familiar. I was sitting in the booth, and this guy came in. He was about 6'3", bigger than me. Went over in the corner. And I said, listen, you're a young man. You can't go to robbing people. Do yourself a favor and go meet the jeweler. He'll work a deal. Give him so much a month. Work out a deal. Thank you, Mr. Buffalino. Walked out. About 15 minutes later, he comes walking. He says, can I see you again? And even over the corner. I'm not paying nobody. When he did, Russell kneed him in his groin. The guy peed his pants. And he says, if you ever use my name to rob innocent people, I'll kill you with my bare hands. That cost him 14 years for saying that.
Oh, that's what he did time for?
Worked there.
Or what the guys tell on him?
Well, no, they wired him and he came back in.
Oh, they were wired. Oh, I got it.
So he did those 4 years, and then they said he tried to kill the witness. And they gave him nothing. Nah. He was on trial with Mike Rizzatelli.
No?
He was on trial with Mike Rizzatelli, conspiracy. Mike Rizzatelli was found innocent. So who did he conspire with? You know, it was just a setup.
Yeah.
And he went. And
Mike came out after all of that, he came out to California. He was out there for a while.
Yeah.
He was out here with me. I liked him, though. We got along well.
Mike was a nice guy. Mike didn't do nothing, you know.
Yeah.
Although we did tell him, he did use the defense, he couldn't read or write. So I looked at Russ, we were in intermission, so let's look over there. He's reading the paper. You go over and tell us, so yes, get rid of that newspaper. Mike had bad luck all his life, though. Everything he did, they banged him. He was well liked in California.
Yeah, he did okay out here. He got in a jam out here for a while too, but we got along though. I liked him a lot.
I was very close with Pete.
Yeah, Pete Milano?
Yeah, very close with him.
Yeah, Pete was a nice guy. I was in Terminal Island with them for a couple of years. Him and Frank Shortino. Did you know Frank?
I don't know Frank, but I knew him, and little Tommy.
Yeah, Frank was close with Carlos from New Orleans.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was married to Keely Smith at one time, Louis Prima's ex. But they were nice guys, you know, in there. We got along well.
Oh, Pete was a nice guy. I really liked Pete.
Yeah. Yeah, they got jammed up on nonsense, really. I think they each got 3 years or 4 years. It was all nonsense, but so much of it was nonsense back then.
Not anymore. Now they give it 200 years, 300 years.
Oh, my God. You know, Billy, I tell everybody, a lot of people like to talk about John Gotti and this and that, and John destroyed everything. And I tell people, John didn't destroy everything. It was a RICO Act that destroyed that life.
They made John. The newspapers made John. He's the dapper Don. He pays $200 for his coats and shoes.
Yeah.
So they put him into that mode. And I guess he liked it, but they set him up.
Yeah. No, you can't be that. You can't have that kind of bravado because they're going to get you eventually, and that was it. But that RICO Act, until today, I say it's unconstitutional. It was devastating to everybody. It was so destructive. This government really, we got some rough times ahead of us. Not us personally. I'm just saying the country, no doubt.
Like Russell's wife said, you'll take it to the grave.
All right, well, there you have it. You know, Billy is an old timer, and hope you were able to hear. You know, he does talk a little bit fast, and hope you were able to understand because he does have some wonderful stories. And really, for me, it's a pleasure to talk to somebody, you know, from that era of my former life. I really mean that. And Billy knew my dad. You know, he told us just now that a few months before my dad went away for that 50-year prison sentence, he was at the Copacabana, and Russell and Billy came down there to meet him. Russell loved my father. My father had a lot of respect for Russell also, so they knew each other well. And Billy's just got a treasure trove of stories. Obviously, couldn't tell them all in a half an hour, but I really encourage you to read the book. I think you'll really enjoy it. I believe they're going to make a film out of this book because it should be, because you know, whenever you have somebody that was real in that life at the level that he was at, it should be told because people enjoy the genre. You know, I just did a video about, you know, Hollywood having such an impact on the perception people have about that life. Well, in this book, you're going to get the real deal, and hopefully it'll be made into a film one day, and that's it. So hope you enjoyed it. How do I leave you, my friends? The same way, never going to change. Be safe. Be healthy. God bless each and every one of you. And yes, I'll see you next time. Take care.